back to the Locker Room. Now, this episode is a personal favourite of mine. We are going to be talking about sex and relationships. Now, I'm joined by two very special guests. One of them has already been on an episode before. And someone who's new to this series, actually. So this is James, this is Toby from Coventry Rugby. Hello, lads. How are we?
Yeah, good.
Yeah?
Still mucking about.
Living the dream.
Living the dream?
Yeah.
So James was here a little bit earlier. We were talking about men's mental health and, you know, all the tribulations and trials that come with being a professional athlete and stuff. And now we are talking about your sex lives and your relationships.
Important stuff.
And we'll talk about mine as well, by the way. You know, hey, look, if I'm going to be here... yeah, well, mine's non-existent, to be fair as well, I'm going to be honest with you. I like to think it's not, but it is. Let's talk about sexually transmitted infections, STIs for short. Have you ever had one?
I have had one, yes.
When we say one, is that one or plural?
Just one.
Just the one?
Just the one and the one time. Yes, most definitely the one.
Because you got tested like we all should do.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. And to be fair, it happened once, long time ago, found out, tested, got rid of it, and I was just like, right, okay, from now on it.
Well, let's just slow it down and go into the depths of this. Right? So, how did you start thinking that you might have? What did you have?
Just chlamydia.
Chlamydia,
I say
right.
just,
And how did you start figuring that out? What happened to your body when you were like, oh, this feels a bit different?
So, to be fair, I didn't really feel any symptoms. I think.
I did.
Did you?
Yeah, I had chlamydia, by the way, myself, actually.
Well, it's rather common, and to be fair, I didn't feel any symptoms, and it was actually the other person that tested where I found out, and I was like,
You got the phone call.
Yeah, well, text.
Said the one where someone you've been with was tested positive.
No, it was I've got this. You need to go and I was like, oh, here we go. So I've obviously gone and get tested. The dread results came in, and ever since then I was like, oh, right, we're gonna just protect up. Put a condom on every time, so just try and stay away from that side of things now. Got to behave.
I mean, you know, we laugh, we joke about it, and I think that's what a lot of people do, right? When it comes to like slightly more serious topics, you know, you sort of like shrug it off and whatever. I remember being terrified when I got chlamydia. I was like, what is this? It was stinging when I peed, and I was just saying, I was like, this doesn't feel right. It feels incredibly wrong, and went and got tested. And was like, oh no, well, like, what does that mean? Because you know, like when you're younger, you're like, I haven't got a clue what's going on. And did it make you? Do you get tested more often now? Yeah,
I'm very much like every couple of months, or I try and go partner to partner, if depending on that how long that relationship's been or something. Not that there's been many.
Yeah, I was going to say.
That made it sound like there was a lot.
Once a month. Actually, I don't even know if that's a lot or not, to be honest.
No, it's important to be regular. I think you don't want to go too long without it, because there's also times where, you know, you can get it just from contact. So it's one of them where you never really know, and you just want to be safe than sorry, I think.
Absolutely, mate.
You don't want to, especially when you're starting something new. I think a new relationship, you want to go with it fresh and
treat the other partner with respect as well.
Exactly.
Tell them what's going on. Toby, the big guy, we call him, by the way, the big guy. So Toby, the big guy, has been to Tenerife, been to Tenerife as our Toby. Tell us about your trip and tell us about the doubts it raised.
There's a long history of events. It was a great trip.
I thought you said there's a long history of Tenerife.
No. The whole story is a long story, but cutting it short, I had an interaction with a lady. We had protected sex, might I add. I didn't have any symptoms, and I just felt really, I don't know, insecure, worried, might have something. And then I met my partner afterwards and that kind of thing, and just down the line, like, I kind of forgot about it, and then it just kept coming, oh, fuck, I might actually have something without knowing. So I got tested, and I remember actually, it's quite a point, I remember the lady doing a blood test, obviously testing for everything, and I was like, it's quite scary, because like you could, you know, go around living, walking, like playing rugby, I could have anything. But anyway, I came back, like I was negative, like fine, it was all clear, but quite eye-opening. Like, I've been with my partner for a long time now, so don't have any of Jimmy's worries.
No partners are partners.
Yeah, he's had far more than me. But no, I just thought like it's worth. Do you know what I mean? It's not worth running the risk. So I left it quite a while.
How long did you leave it?
Until I got tested, it was probably not far off a year.
A year?
Yeah.
Bloomin' heck.
Yeah. Because it's just like, I was scared at the time, and obviously like, I mean, we were drunk for 3 days, so like I was just constantly like being anxious about it, getting drunk, forgetting about it, and then you come back and just like put it to one side, and then it comes back for a bit, and then forgot about it, and then just.
But you had a condom on.
I did, yeah, but you just never know, do you? What if it doesn't work, or?
I like that.
They're like, what are they, like 99.9% effective?
Yeah.
Like what if I was the 0.1, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And so actually, out of the, maturity of your mind, you went and got tested when you got a new partner. I mean, surely that, that's a good move there, mate. Give yourself some kudos.
Oh, I appreciate that.
What did your partner say?
With my missus, I was like, I'm going to have to tee you up on a few things here before the lads tell you. So that's how she came to know, and actually took it pretty well.
Did she?
So I wasn't too bothered, and then, yeah, as I said, eventually got tested, and touch wood, it was all clear.
What would you say to our youngsters who are watching this, who may be like, I'll be fine, I don't need to get tested? Would you say the more regularly you get tested, the better it is? Would you say that, you said every partner, didn't you, mate?
Yeah, I think, as I said, just try and make it regular. Even if you don't think if I've got anything, might as well just take the risk out of it. The more regularly you do test, you get used to it. For example, like Tobys said, it's a bit scary. Like, if you make it a regular thing, then why not? Just get
exactly.
Not saying like getting a routine and like regularly peeing in a cup or anything, but just
keep on top of it.
Yeah,
we like to call it risk averse, Toby.
It's not worth the risk. That's the thing.
Talking about safe sex. What does safe sex mean to you now at a certain age? Has that changed from now until when you were younger?
I think, when I was younger, I think it wasn't necessarily a thing that I massively thought of. You're sort of, immature with that sort of thing. So you're almost just like, sex is sort of sex. Mm-hmm. But then, when you get older, you start to pick up on things you think, like this it is pretty deep. So it takes things to happen,
experiences.
Yeah, you take experiences like, getting an STI or something like that, where, you're like, well, I should probably, I call it wrapping up, but...
Hey, do you know what? Have a name for it, man. It's absolutely fine.
A little nickname for it, but you just gotta wrap up.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like...
It's cold out there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, woolly mammoth.
Yeah, mate. It's cold out there, man. You've got to just get those layers on.
Yeah.
But especially if you're in a relationship where you're not not necessarily looking for long term, because there are people that look for casual encounters, so it's almost like, better to be safe than sorry. And even if you are in a relationship, especially early on, you wanna live your life.
Absolutely.
So it's always best to wrap up.
It's interesting though, isn't it? Because when you're a youngster, there sometimes would always be that like, no, we're gonna go without and that kind of stuff, and then you think it's a lot cooler. It's interesting how those fads actually, until something happens, like you get an STI or something like that, you're like, and then immediately it happens. Trust me, it happens to you, and then you sit there and go, I think I should probably just wear a condom, and you never look back. You never look back. At the start, you're like, do you know, I don't need one. At the moment something happens, you go, why didn't I I'm just such an idiot. I have so many friends who stupid stuff has happened because of not being safe with their sex when it comes to a condom. I'm looking down the lens now. I mean,
it's
really
serious.
Really
You're
serious.
targeting the individual there.
Let's talk about your partners. So we talked about sex. Let's talk about, relationships. You don't have one.
No.
So you're exempt. Toby, you do have one, mate. So
I do, yes.
What I found quite interesting, 'cause I've done my research about these lovely lads, is your partner has something that I have, ADHD.
Yes.
Yeah.
She
What's
does.
that like?
Well, she was, I think it was about 6 months ago, earlier this year.
So was I!
Really?
Look at us!
Whole world,
Yeah.
The important thing to note is like, you don't just like get diagnosed with ADHD and like your world's different, or it's not like you're ill.
Yeah.
Or do you know what I mean? I was actually chatting to her last night, and she was saying it's weird. Like she's finding it tough, like telling people, because I don't think people know how to respond. Do you know what I mean?
Point. I know exactly what you mean.
I was saying it's a bit deep, but like, you know, if someone has like cancer or like a bad thing, you know, it's like, it's not easy, but you know how to respond. You're like, oh, condolences. Whereas ADHD, you're like, brain's wired a little bit differently, so it's difficult for her to explain. But
It's you know what, I must agree with that. It's I got worried about my bosses, not like as in like TV commissioners and stuff, because I was like, because I want to go into presenting and I like entertainment, television and stuff like that, and I was like, do you know what, now I've been diagnosed with ADHD, there's no hiding place. So I did it on TV as well as a documentary about ADHD, and it's on E4, by the way, called ADHD. So it's on Sam Thompson, is this ADHD? But having said that, there's nowhere to hide when you do it on television, because you're usually like, oh God, well, then whoever's watched, just gonna say the world knows, I don't think the world watched it, but like, whoever's watched it knows. So I was like, I'm a bit worried about, people that I potentially want to get work from, because what happens if they go, oh God, this guy, are we going to hire him to host a show? Are we going to hire him to be on this panel show? Or are we going to hire him to be on the radio? Or whatever it is, because he's got ADHD, which, may mean that he struggles to concentrate, or may mean that he gets fidgety, or like stuff like that. So I was a little bit worried about that. So I can understand.
She had the exact same worries. I mean, she's been at this job now for, I think, about 18 months. So she's been there for about a year when it came across the exact same thing. What's the manager's going to say? They're going to think I'm incapable if I move jobs or whatever. Is this going to affect me? But
not if you love your job. If you love your job, you're actually better at it than most people.
Well, exactly, yeah. And I think she's been saying she's doing really well recently, which is good to hear.
What's your missus' name?
Laura.
Laura, come on, Laura!
She'll love that.
And how is it being the partner of someone who's got ADHD?
I think for me, it hasn't changed much things for me, because, well, we've been together for like 6.5 years.
So 6.5 years, man. You're obviously madly in love with her.
Yeah, but it's just her. For me, it's just her. Like, I mean, her family have always joked about, you're definitely a bit crazy. And I can confirm the zoomies are real. Yeah. They are a real thing.
You talking about your girlfriend or the cat?
No, both.
You talking about a cat?
No, both.
Oh, fine, okay.
No, genuine. Human zoomies are real, as they are in the cat, obviously. But yeah, like I said, like she's crazy. Like Jimmy gets on well with Laura. He knows Laura well, and like she's a great character, like a loud character, wears a heart on her sleeve and everything. So for me, it hasn't changed. It's more like now you've got it. It's like a label for things. So she's talking about executive functioning. Yeah. That's like putting your washing away and like
it's tough.
The boring stuff.
The admin we call it.
Yeah, admin. Yeah. Whereas I'm probably as close to being OCD without being.
Oh, you're perfect together.
No, yeah, well, yeah, I was clearly going to say I'm perfect. I'm not perfect. But, like, to summarise our relationship, she'll be like, I want to paint these walls, or this lamp is a different shade. And I'm like, what about the pile of clothes that's been there for 5 years? Or something. So, like, now that's got a label.
Does she listen to you?
Sometimes.
Yeah. Dude, I get the exact same thing with my missus. Yeah. A lot of the time, my girlfriend, she'd sit there, it's about telling stories that she hates. Yeah. So I'll literally be like, listening to her, but like not really listening to her, but I'm trying to listen to her. Yeah. And she'll be like saying something, she's like, you're not even here, are you? And I'm like over there somewhere in my mind. And she's just like, this is just so annoying. and I can understand, that's why I asked what it was like to be a partner, because I can understand, I sometimes felt very guilty with my girlfriend Zara, because I would like tell her all about my day. I had no problem talking about myself. I'll be like, yeah, everything's going great with me. Yeah. How's it going with you? She'd say something, I'd see like the cat do something cool. They'd be like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. And then like, I wouldn't even be thinking about what she said. Yeah. It's just very selfish. But it's not your fault. Yeah, exactly. The way your brain works. Yeah, you just have to be communicative. I just found it really, really interesting. And I love asking people who are partners, people with ADHD. Yeah. The next question I'm going to ask you, you're going to love. So when you sleep together, and you have sex, do you ever ejaculate too early, or as we like to call it, premature ejaculation, of which 20 to 30% of men are affected by, and of a certain sexual age, of course, of a sexual age?
I've had no is the answer.
Not me.
Not always, but I've had 1 or 2 times where it's been,
in 6.5 years.
Well, maybe a few more, 1 or 2.
There we go. Bring it out.
A handful of times where it's been like a 1 minute wonder.
Yeah.
Job idiot. But generally, it's I mean, nowadays it's more a case of I'm lucky to get it. So.
Yeah. I was going to say, but do you know what? That's how it works, genuinely. At the start, you're sort of like, it's all the time. And then afterwards, it's literally just like birthdays and Christmas. And you're like, oh, sweet. So now you have to schedule it in.
Never had that issue.
Yeah. Don't worry, mate. It will come. Yeah. It will come. Oh. It always does. Sometimes too fast. But yeah, so you have had premature ejaculation before. How does that make you? How did that make you feel? I'm sure it's a bit different now. You're 6.5 years deep. How did it make you feel beforehand? When maybe you were less comfortable with the partner.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a bit meh, isn't it? How do you describe it? Like,
well, do you feel like you haven't, satisfied them? Do you feel like you are under pressure to satisfy them?
Yes, I would probably say so. I think there's probably, I'd say there's a general theme with sex is that when the guy's done, it's done. So if the guy's done in a minute, then
nothing you can do.
then it's game over, really, isn't it? So there is definitely a little bit of that. You're like, oh, it's not ideal, really, is it? You kind of let them down a bit.
So what you say, you just turn around and go,
you crack up.
Let you down, let you down, like,
I'll make it up to you.
Yeah. Food? Is there anything I can cook? But it is, mate, it's tough. It's tough out there. And I think this is something that we, as men, don't, which I, by the way, am, believe it or not. I'm now 31 years old. And we don't talk about it enough, do we, James? We don't talk about premature ejaculation. We don't talk about the pressures of being a competent sexual partner.
Yeah, I think it is a tough one because
it's not your fault.
No, it's not. If anything, it's a compliment. That's the way I like to describe it.
I love that. That's brilliant.
That is alpha.
Yeah. He's worked out the matrix there.
I've almost got to try and flip it on.
Yeah.
No, it is a little bit of a pressure one because it's embarrassing when it happens. I've had it happen quite a few times, and it's just you sit there and you're like, no, not again, or like, like this is ridiculous. Like,
what have I done?
Literally,
what can I do better?
It's one of them where you just I can't really help it, but it is something that needs to be spoken because there is that sort of pressure of, it could happen, and then it's then just does she actually want to carry on, or does she want to be with me, or something like that. So there's like little pressures of like, I've not performed it one time. But
it made me feel ashamed as well, Like, oh God, I remember when I was single, which is about 20 years ago, because I've only ever had relationships. But yeah, man, I mean, no, I remember when I was, first sort of like foraying into whatever relationship we're foraying into, God, the pressure. Oh God, it's just like, I'd be the same. I've had a minute wonder and stuff like that, and you're like, oh, for God's sake, why? And then you're like, then you stop thinking about is this gonna be it? Are you gonna give me another chance and stuff like that? And do you want to talk to your mates? Do you know what I mean? Do you want to be, oh God, like what am I gonna? Are they gonna take the mick out of me? Or it's tough, right?
I remember when I was seeing my ex at the time, and think the first time we had sex,
come on, big guy.
Crude way of saying it went off early, but then I was quite comfortable with that person, and then sort of like grew and developed with that. But I think that's the part of it. Once you're a little bit more comfortable with that person, then it's sort of everything takes care of itself.
And do you know how we get more comfortable? We talk.
Cool. Yeah.
We talk about things. Exactly. That's what happens. And lads, I really do appreciate you being here for this. It's a tough conversation. It's a conversation that not many men have. And I think you genuinely believe you have to be brave to be sat here talking about things like that, especially at the rugby club, boys, as well. Do you know what I mean?
Tough crowd.
Yeah. No, but mate, that's even better, man. It's even better. And it's something that I think in 2023, moving into 2024 now, it's only going to become more prominent. And I think that you boys are pioneers. I really do. To be able to sit here, to be able to talk about it, to be able to talk about Tenerife, and
scratching the surface.
Talk about the the chlamydias and the STIs. Look, mate, so many people have had, I don't know the stats, but so many people have had STIs in their lifetime. So many men. I don't know one guy who hasn't had premature ejaculation before? You know, I don't know one person who hasn't, like, you know, called me out the next day and been like, oh, I can have most of you, it just wasn't. It wasn't how I imagined. It wasn't how I think.
Locker room shatter.
I don't think it was how she imagined it was going to be. And you get terrified because you're like, oh God, she's going to tell her mates.
Yeah.
And you're like, they're going to sit there. And a lot of the time that's not true, actually. I think we sometimes think that the worst is going to be the case, and it's not ever the worst. And I think the more you talk about it, the more you normalise things like this, the more actually you realise how trivial it all is, and you know, it's not always going to be the case.
No.
And I really appreciate you boys being sat here.
Thank you for having us.
Toby, I want to come tennis with you. And James, again, thank you so much, brother. Now remember, addressing these issues is an ongoing journey, and the more we talk about it, the more positive change that we can make. If you've been affected with any of these topics, or you feel like you need support, please do visit your GP or visit the Boots Men's Health Hub.